Me and my husband aren't seeing eye to eye on Thanksgiving this year. Here is the long and somewhat complicated backstory. My husband's grandmother is dying. She raised him, so is more so his mother than my JNMIL will ever be. As in, if she makes it to the holidays, these will more likely than not be her last. She recently was in the hospital in severely bad condition. She has COPD and is very frail. Her oxygen levels wouldn't stay up, hence she got a week-long stay in the hospital. She is bedridden and cannot care for herself or even sit up unassisted. She was admitted on Monday, and we were not told till Wednesday when his sister called us. My husband's mom had told them that we already knew when we didn't. I immediately took time off work and stayed with her 24 hours a day from Wednesday to the following Monday, only leaving once for a couple hours to get cleaned up and get her a bag of Fritos she wanted. My husband was there from Thursday evening to Sunday midday with us. Other than that, my two sisters-in-law visited for a few hours total, and my JNMIL was there for a total of 1.52 hours total during that time. Grandma begged her daughter to stay and visit a while with her, and my JNMIL refused, saying she had to get home and do housework repeatedly. Yet she would go into histrionics if Grandma took a dip in a negative direction. Grandma was discharged home to die, and refusing hospice. Grandma lives with JNMIL and step Phil. Grandma is on oxygen and both in-laws are not in good health either. Janewell will smoke in the house with Grandma there. Janewell swears she is the only caretaker Grandma needs. To add to the chaos, the hospital Grandma was in was the one my father died in. The staying in the hospital is what I did with him for a large part of my early to mid-30s as his caregiver. Her room at one point was 2 doors down from the exact room my dad died in. I was alone in caring for my dad, and when he died I was by myself. I developed PTSD from it. So this whole experience has been a massive trigger for me, and in-laws have zero appreciation for what I did for their grandma, mother. My husband first asked if we could do Thanksgiving dinner with his grandma, Janewell, and Phil at their house since his grandma's time is short. I was reluctant but agreed. Somehow his sisters found out and invited themselves to it as well. We got informed of this by JNMIL. When together it will total 15 people. They get loud and will even argue with each other. Janewell also smokes in the house, which I cannot stand the smell of. My husband and I work retail and make the least out of his siblings. I lost pay taking time to sit in the hospital, which none of them did. We are now expected to feed up to 15 people with no help from anyone else. If Grandma dies before Thanksgiving, then they're going to cancel the entire dinner. My husband doesn't think it's going to be that expensive, but they're expecting the turkey, 8-10 sides, desserts and rolls. All homemade. I want to cry thinking of all the work. My husband thinks it's not that much work. I told him we need to start buying and prepping now for all that. He disagrees and said we can buy a few days before, but it shouldn't take more than a few hours the day of to make everything. I am stressed to my limit. I am getting migraines now almost daily and can't get into my therapist until December. I have tried to talk him into canceling or even getting them to chip in, and he has refused. I get why he wants to do this, but it just feels like it's being dumped on my shoulders to deal with alone. I don't want to tell him no, but I seriously just want a break from people altogether on the holiday after spending unending hours at work with literal screaming children, horribly entitled customers, and all the stress of everything else. Would I be the asshole if I just didn't go to the dinner even if it upsets him? I was feeling so guilty for feeling like I was, but you all helped me feel so much better about it. So some things have happened since my original post, but first I would like to answer some questions. 1. Grandma is bedridden and lives with my JNMIL and Phil. There is zero way to bring her to our place to have Thanksgiving here, hence why we have to go there. 2. Those that commented about the smoking and oxygen. Yep, totally agree. Janewell is not that bright, obviously, and doesn't see that she is creating a worse situation. It's also why I worry about the care Grandma is getting with JNMIL as her sole caregiver. 3. The cooking. While DH has cooked Thanksgiving dinner before, it's only been for a max of 3 people, and it was a very limited menu of potatoes, stuffing rolls and turkey. However, he offered to cook a full meal homemade to make this last holiday with Grandma extra meaningful. 4 in-laws. Yes, they invited themselves. While I don't hate them, I am given a headache at the idea that inviting oneself is an okay thing to do. I actually have IBS, and all the stress actually caused a very severe flare-up at work last night. It was the worst I have ever experienced. I was passing blood, digestive distress, cramping, dizziness, etc. I contacted my husband, who asked if I couldn't leave because it was so bad. That's when I told him I had used up all my leave on his grandma's hospital stay and we could not afford for me to miss any more time anyway. He didn't reply for a full 3 minutes. I think that's when it hit him. The stress of everything was going to put me in the hospital, and I literally, physically, mentally could not take anymore. My boss was great about letting me sit in the break room and recover a bit on the clock while checking in with a telehealth doctor on what to do for my flare-up. After an hour or so, I was able to work again, but slower paced. I powered through work, how I don't know, and got home later. When I came through the door, my husband got up from bed and panicked when he saw me. He said my face was pale and I had almost no color to my lips. He got me to bed, made me hot tea, some stomach meds, and asked what he could do to help. That's when the floodgates opened and I began to cry. I told him my stress has to come down, that after everything, plus work adding on a Thanksgiving dinner that big, from scratch, for that many people was way too much. I couldn't do it. I told him, well, I get it. I get why he wants to do it. I get it, maybe grandma's last, but the stress of it was just way more than I and my body could handle. He immediately looked so guilty. He wrapped his arms around me and apologized profusely. He said he was so focused on the time he had left with his grandma and making her happy he hadn't realized just what he was putting on me. He said my health was more important than his siblings getting a free meal. He then asked if I would be okay just cooking for us, his grandma, mom, and stepdad. I said yes, but then I asked if we could not make everything from scratch, and he instantly agreed. So we are going to decide tonight what is getting store-bought and what can just be taken off the menu. He is also calling his sisters and telling them that it's not possible for them to come and to make other arrangements. He has also agreed to help prep things ahead as well. We are going to use disposable pans, plates for most things to make cleanup easier as well. So today is my day off, and I am in bed resting, now on an anti-inflammatory diet, and trying to distress as much as I can. My husband said he will be cooking dinner for tonight and tomorrow, and for me to just take it easy. He has called from work to check on me several times. He said that regardless of the cost, if my flare doesn't calm down, to just go to the hospital and get taken care of. This is probably the best I could hope for at the moment. When we talk tonight, I am going to ask for a no-smoking ban while I am at their house and plan to take some kind of odor neutralizer with me to help with the smell of it. If they don't agree, then we will cook at our home and he can deliver them plates of food instead of us cooking there. Well, more stuff has happened to cause changes to the plans. My husband went to his grandmother's house yesterday and his niece and nephew were there as well. It was also his deceased grandpa's birthday as well, which is why grandma asked him to come visit. This part is secondhand as I heard it from DH. While he was visiting grandma, she wanted her Christmas tree to be worked on and the ornaments rearranged. Grandma asked niece and nephew to go into the kitchen with JNMIL so she and DH could have some quality alone time. She apparently wanted to talk to DH about something private while they worked on the tree. Well, trust Jamal to be the drama queen. She started having a fit that niece and nephew were asked to go into the kitchen with her and made a big tantrum of having to call Bill to come get them because it was so much trouble they were causing. SFIL came out of his room, having been woken up from a nap by all the noise. What ensued was a fight with cussing and swearing between JNMIL and SFILAMDAT grandma when she would try to get them to stop. It got to the point SFIL started threatening to put the house back into grandma's name and then to move out and take all financial support with him. Grandma then tells DH that he often threatens her with that. The argument continued until SFIL said that he had had enough and he wasn't letting Thanksgiving dinner be cooked at his house. When told that that wasn't possible, he said it was and that he would refuse to open the door for DH. At the point, JNMIL and grandma became upset. Jamal told him he could because she had been looking forward to it. SFIL said just watch him, he would do it in a heartbeat. Grandma just sadly looked at my husband and quietly asked, "You're not cooking dinner anymore?" When my husband told me what happened, I about fell out of my chair in elation. I knew something like this was going to happen. I just how knew it. So I said that it was fine. We could cook at our house for ourselves and then fix up several plates with dessert and the meal just for Grandma only, since she is the innocent one in all this, and take it to her a bit later in the day. He agreed to it, and I have felt much more at ease ever since. So smaller dinner and sides to cook, smaller bill, less time in a smoke-filled house and less stress, and Grandma still gets her dinner and dessert. I call it a win-win. I also told Hubs that if he threatens that again, we can say fine, go ahead and do it. We will have Grandma then put the house into a trust where the only ones to benefit from it would be me, Hubs and Grandma. Then after Grandma passes, they would get booted, we would fix, deodorize and paint the house and either live there while we work toward rebuilding our home or rent it out for additional income without having to worry about inheritance taxes and whatnot. Again, a win-win. Grandma won't move out of that house as it's the home she and her husband struggled for and rebuilt from bare brick walls. It's her comfort place, so she won't leave even with the fights, threats and JNMIL smoking in the house while she is on oxygen. We can't afford to financially support 2 houses ATM, and moving would be impossible for us at this time. Husband called his sister right away and told her the truth of what happened so niece and nephew won't get punished. Even with this turn of events, I have a feeling this is not over in any way. However, after being on a light, anti-inflammatory diet for a few days and an emergency appointment with my therapist, I am feeling a lot better. Talking to my son, 16, at a special private school in another city, and daughter, almost 19, and finally being able to give them some love and attention they needed helped a lot as well. Thank you everyone for your suggestions and well wishes. My husband is being tremendously supportive and it finally feels like we are dealing with this together. Hopefully this continues.